What is going on, everybody? We're back 3 days in a row. Like it's Michael Jordan, like it's the Kansas City Chiefs. We're gonna ask the fellas that in a couple minutes. We'll see what happens. I don't know. We're gonna ask the important questions. We see Eric's got some green on, so we'll see where his allegiance lies. But we got a couple Yankees in the building. The Bronx is here. I'm really excited about this one, man, because we have somebody from the 5th round, somebody from the 6th round, somebody from 2022, somebody from 2024. So we're gonna be able to pick the brains of where they're at right now and what's everything minor league baseball. We're here with Eric Reyzelman, who I am meeting for the first time because I don't know why I missed episode 2 of Pros and Joes, especially since I host the show. 2 shows in, I'm just gone like crazy. I don't know what the fuck happened. And Griffin Herring, Jax's favorite player. Fellas, how we doing?
Doing great.
Doing well. How are you guys?
We're doing, you know what? I'm doing okay, but I just want Griff to flip that camera really quick because I want to see how great Griff is doing. I just got it because we saw yesterday.
They're in the same place, Mike, to be clear.
See, I didn't know that. I didn't know, but I can kind of see. I see rays of sunshine in the background for Eric. Must be nice, brother. I'm in Chicago right now. It's cold.
It's clear all these boys are in Florida because our 2 guests on Tuesday were there. I mean, I don't know what Houston and them were doing. They need to get it together.
No, for sure. And you know, the boys in the National League are heading to Mesa, Arizona, which is super exciting as well, man. But you know, more exciting than that, from guys like me, bunch of nerds just on the game all day. You know, I'm trying to find everybody where they're at, their ratings. We got the show. The cover of the show is coming out. You can pre-sale coming out on February 4th or 5th, something like that. We just found out the cover is going to be 3 stars, just like we talked about earlier. We got all 3 in the building for our 3rd show in the row. Ellie De La Cruz, Gunnar Henderson, and Paul Skeen. So, fellas, the question we've asked in back-to-back days, this will be the 3rd day in a row, is how do you feel about the cover having 3 stars on there? And if there was anybody you would replace with somebody else, who would it be and why?
Go first, Griff.
Well, I mean, obviously, all 3 of those guys are extremely talented and deserve to be on there. You know, Paul, great guy, deserves the world. He's done a lot to deserve that. Maybe if anything, just kind of like more of an upcoming prospect instead of Ellie. Just like I feel like Gunnar and Paul are kind of really new guys. Maybe I'm
thinking Junior Caminero.
Yeah, or the guy for the Brewers.
Churio.
Yeah. He had a good go, and he was a top prospect, so I think he would fit there too.
I would be sick, Jim. Eric, before we get into your answer, Griff, look, I'm a Cubs fan, brother. If I saw 3 guys in the NL Central on that cover, I'm not buying that fucking game. I'm telling you that right now. It's not happening, bro. If Pete Crow Armstrong's not on that fucking list, I'm leaving. It's not happening. How about you, Eric?
With the alternate cover, bro.
No, I like it. I'm happy Paul's on there. I mean, that guy deserves to be on there for sure. He's exciting as hell, and I mean the other 2 as well. I mean, big fan of both. So I mean, I like that they're doing 3. I know there's always a lot of controversy over who's on it, but you know, it's something different, something cool. I mean, I'm pretty excited about the game itself. It looks like they're gonna be adding a lot of new stuff. So if they're gonna do something different, I think they did it right.
For sure. Now, there's a lot. He said the word controversy. I think that's very important right now because we're talking about Kendrick Lamar. Now, to me, the GOAT forever and always will be Lil Wayne. Argue with your mama, not with me, because that's where I'm at with it. You know, in New Orleans, I think Wayne should have got that honor. But I want to ask you guys, who would you have picked for the Super Bowl halftime show this year? And how hurt do you think Drake is going to be when he plays Not Like Us?
Eric, you got it.
Dude, I don't know, man. I mean, I'm not a big rap guy, you know, for me. I don't know. I'm trying to think about who I would have wanted.
Yesterday's answer or last night's answer, we asked dang, I'm going mind blank all of a sudden. AJ Russell from Tennessee, and I liked his answer, Mike. I know you're probably not a country guy, but Chris Stapleton would bring the house down.
I listen to country. I could rock with some Jelly Roll at the Super Bowl, man. You don't have to tell me twice.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool.
Since they did country, they could use it.
I think, yeah. I mean, it's been super long. I would have loved to see like Luke Combs do it or something. I mean, that would have been sick.
That'd be sick
or
for
like
sure.
maybe like NBA YoungBoy or something.
I think he's in jail there, Griff. I ain't gonna lie to you. I think he's still in jail, if I'm not mistaken. But hey,
If not,
he could do like a
not.
Zoom. He could do like a Zoom call or
Honestly,
something.
I would like to see them cross genres and do like 3, like come with rap, rock, and country,
Right.
do some sort of show. Obviously, you have to find the artist that would be down with it, probably a label thing, but
yeah,
you got to.
No, I think it would be sick. Like, even like, I'm super stoked. Like, you're gonna ask me my favorite part of 2025 at Wrigley Field is when Post Malone and Jelly Roll are doing a concert. Like, that's gonna be the sickest thing in the world. Like, the amount of drugs and alcohol at that place, which Pros and Joes does not condone of, but it's gonna be off the chain. I mean, we're gonna have ambulances and EMTs on standby everywhere because those two are party animals. But Jim, I'm gonna let you take it away with some college ball real quick before we get into
I couldn't wait to bring this up with Griffin, man. Mike, I didn't tell you this story on purpose. So I'm in Fayetteville there for the Arkansas LSU series. I'm actually there with the SEC umpires. Javero January was a pro baseball player before he's an umpire. And in a weekend that featured Hagen Smith, who's obviously a top 5 pick, you had Luke Holman, I think he was pick number like 40, and then Gage Jump. After Griffin pitched and he had the plate that night, he said, I'm going to tell you right now, your boy Griff, he's got the most elite slider. He's pro ready now. And so fast forward, we didn't know if Griffin was coming back to LSU. It just depended on what obviously they thought about him as they went in the draft process, and clearly by the things he was told, by the decision he made. And so it just verified what we saw that weekend and then throughout the season. And I never got a chance to catch up and ask you, Griff, like, man, you were just on a run, man. Like, just, I understand the team didn't meet up to the expectations, hope, but for you personally, like, I mean, just how good it feel coming off the national championship, not knowing what would happen, starter, bullpen, all that, but being the guy that was, consistent on a every, night you close basis, shutting it down.
I mean, really what it comes down to is just knowing what my job was and going in there and executing. And it wasn't like I was worried about the draft or anything like that. That fall I had, gotten into my head a little bit about it and didn't have the fall that I wanted to have. And going into season, I just really committed myself to the team and knowing my role and just trying to get outs when we needed them, whether that was, to close the game in the 9th or go 5 out of the pen. It really didn't matter to me. Just trying to do what I could.
Eric, I saw him pitch one time in the fall, and this man got so mad he got pulled from a fall game because, I mean, he was absolutely rolling. I think he had like 7 Ks, and he had a pitch count, but he wanted to get the next batter. You remember that? You came over there and said something to your dad. You threw your glove down. You're like, I wanted to finish and get the last out. I was like, man, give me a guy who's that fiery against his own team in like a fall scrimmage.
If there's
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, if there's ever a tell for how a guy's going to be in pro ball and how far he's going to go in his career, that's it. And that's the stuff I heard about Griffin, watching him. I watched that team play all year from the comfort of my own home, unfortunately. But it was super fun to watch. The dude's an absolute competitor. I was pumped when we got him. We made a couple good decisions with him and Thatcher. So really pumped to have these guys here.
Yeah, no doubt. And, being able to train together, whether where you're at now or at the LSU facilities, I know it's got to be nice. But, Eric, the question I had for you that I got from the LSU guys, because they haven't been able to see you play, obviously the high A stuff isn't televised. They wanted to know about you coming set. Did they quickly have you modify that, or are you still doing it? What's it like? Because you were obviously known around the country for what you did. That's actually why my son remembers you. That Friday night game in Starkville where they were chanting and you got up to 7-8 times. And so did they try to correct that, or, how'd that go?
Yeah, look, it was something that I did in college just because I was mainly a fastball guy, right? I threw 95% fastballs, didn't really throw off-speed pitches. So for me, all that I had to do was find as much tension in my body that I could, throw the ball as hard as I can right down the plate every single time. So I didn't have to, worry about maneuverability with my wrist, whatever. Like, it was just straight up, throw the ball as hard as you can right down the plate. And so when I got to pro ball, I had to modify a bunch of stuff. I had to get back to the off speed. Obviously, I'm staying in the pen, but had to add the slider and the changeup back. And so with that came a lot of changes in mechanics and making sure everything's a lot simpler, more straightforward. So I don't do those toe taps necessarily anymore, but I still come set in a bit of a different way. I'm still a little closed off.
Though. And hey, Mike, every time the opposing crowd would try to taunt him, they didn't catch on to the fact that the more you mess with them, he's talking about throwing fastballs. That was the harder he was going to throw, and your guy wasn't going to hit it. So they were better off just leaving the man alone.
It was fun, and I had so much fun.
Remember Jim sending me clips of that, man, and I hope you take this in a positive way because he's one of my favorite players. But I remember when we were in the bleachers at Wrigley, man, and we were fucking with Tatis, just yelling Roids. He started hitting the gritty on us, and I was like, oh man, like he's one of those dudes. Hits an absolute monster down left field immediately after, and after that when he came back in the outfield, we were like, just leave him alone. We'll just leave that be.
How about we finding out recently that you were taunting a dude that was coming on the show? Now, that's just crazy times.
Look, so. It wasn't me necessarily speaking. Shout out Doyle, but like, you know,
it is what it is, huh? You know? Can't take it back now.
It happened, and you know, I don't think he would put a face to it. But listen, it's the bleacher mania, and I'm sure these fellas are gonna understand it when they do roll calls. You know, it happens, brother. You just don't want to be on the wrong side of it.
But while we're still on trash talk, Griffin, the other one was for you. My boy Matt from Chinook said his favorite thing about the 2023 run in Omaha was you telling every batter to sit down. He said, will you replicate this in pro ball?
Probably not. maybe if I'm pitching in the, you know, World Series, not that far, but like at a higher level where
Sunday night, you think you can get it?
Maybe prove myself a little bit, and then I can start acting a fool a little bit. And start getting
is there levels to that though? Like if it's let's give an example here, Jim. If it's a Bryce Harper, do you want to play with fire like that, or do you accept that challenge of like I do want to ruffle some feathers?
I think it's more of a situational thing. Like let's say you close a game in the 9th, and whether it's Bryce Harper or you know, the 9-hole, you're gonna go nuts either way.
Right.
Like that's just kind of how it happens. And it, you know, if the crowd's into it, it all factors into kind of what's gonna happen after the last out.
Right. For sure. Like I used to mess with Jim all the time. Now, obviously, he ain't a huge Grizz fan. He follows Russell Westbrook, but I used to always mess with how Dylan Brooks would just try to attack Bron every time he went after him. And I'm like, Bron's like, who the fuck is this guy? You know what I mean? And it's like you don't want to hear that same thing
ever.
Never in his life. He likes to poke the bear and then he gets 8. But you know, I believe in Griff. I think he's got it.
No, he's definitely got it. Last one, and I'll turn it over to you, Mike. This is the one we do on every show. We did it with Eric the first time he came on, even though Mike wasn't here to hear it. But recapping, you know, draft day for you, man. Like obviously, that's every kid's dream, man. To hear their name called. Who were you with? Where were you at, man? Just what was that day like?
Honestly, my draft day wasn't my favorite day of all days. It was stressful, and I kind of wasn't sure what was going on for the vast majority of it. My Wi-Fi went out at my house, so I went to my mom's office about 15 minutes away. I wasn't around anybody. I was just by myself in the office. That was kind of how I wanted it to be. I watched the 4th and 5th rounds, and I just kind of headed home. And then I ended up getting a call, and thank God it was the Yankees because they were the org that was top of my list, honestly. And you know, it just worked. Things just worked out. I was a little bit down, but you know, everything works out for a reason. And I think, especially after being with the organization for a couple months now, and just seeing the resources and seeing how you know, a guy like Rez, who I watched in college throw 95% fastballs. I watched him in live AVs the other day, and he's carving guys with a sweeper that moves 18 inches and a nasty changeup. Like, this is real stuff, and it's important. And I'm glad that it's over. I'm glad to be here.
Let me ask you this: when it goes past the 5th round and you haven't gotten the call yet, is it already starting to become a mindset? You know, you're going back to LSU. Did you get that far? You know, down that road?
I was never really, you know, I never really wanted to think that I was concerned with the round. But obviously those things do kind of creep into your head, and, you know, no calls through the first pretty much 4.5, 5 rounds. So I was pretty, you know, I wasn't sure if I was going to get a call. It ran through my head a time or two, but, you know, everything worked out the way it was supposed to.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it was a conflict for me because obviously, I want the best for you. I want whatever makes you happy. So I knew that you were wanting to go, but selfish LSU fan of me, I'm like, man, just come on back. Like, it's okay. Man, there were so many. It was crazy because Mike, I don't share what he tells me. He tells me, he's definitely going to go pro. And so I got all these people saying, we got, Griffin, when they're listing off guys we got coming back. And I was like, no, we don't, man. Just let it go.
No, yeah. And we had that conversation the other day with Ada May, and we were kind of just talking about like, hey, let's talk about another Yankee. When you got Aaron Judge going in the 31st round of the Athletics, sick as fuck, brother. I'm going back to school. Fuck that. You know what I mean?
Hey, since you brought that up, we talked to them about Ryan Prager. Got drafted in 3rd round, passed on it, went back for A&M. What do y'all think about his decision? I'll start with you, Eric. His decision to come back and pass on the draft because that team's going to be loaded and he feels like they're just ready for a national championship and he can be a part of it.
Well, it's tough for me to say. I mean, it's like college baseball, college sports are really different now. It's like, when I was there, it was the start of NIL and it really wasn't what it is now, where it's like, if you get an offer in the top 5 rounds and, you're a junior, or especially if you're older than that, it's like, you go, you take it, you go, you start your pro career.
Because he's going to be a senior next year with no leverage.
Yeah, but it's tough. I mean, like, NIL is just changing a lot of people's decisions. It's making it a lot harder for people to make that separation between pro ball and college. And I understand it, but at the same time, having that the time in a pro org and understanding how the development side of things works. I mean, for me, it would be a no-brainer, in that situation I'd sign, because the development that you get in college is very different than the development you get in pro ball. It's like, if you really want to have a long career in baseball, you want to get that clock started as soon as you can, because, college baseball is the most fun I've ever had playing the sport. It was unbelievable. It was amazing, especially my year at LSU. But it's win, 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 and whatever you have to do to get to that point. So if you really do want to progress your career and you want to play for a long time, pro ball is the best way to do it. And so it's kind of a tough line to draw with NIL, but it's just something that I feel like at this point it's making it super, super hard on guys that have to face that decision through draft.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
For sure.
You can start getting into
I do
all
wonder
your
for you, man.
topics.
Man, I got another one because, usually I leave the college stuff to Jim, but, I've been working in the WNBA for 4 or 5 years now, and I'm starting to see the college level, especially in women's sports, women's basketball, really from an NIL perspective, go insane with the Caitlin Clarks, the Angel Reeses. We can go down the list of amazing players, the Juju Watkins, the Paige Beckers. For you guys, man, and especially Eric, coming from 2022 and how much it's changed from 22 to 25 now. Do you think the NIL perspective of it, I mean, Jim and I talked about it the other day, baseball kind of being the lesser of that from a financial standpoint, is ever going to catch up with the tick that guys like Charlie Condon and Paul Skeens are bringing to college baseball?
It's tough to say. I mean, it's like, personally, I really don't understand a lot of how it's been going on. I've kind of just been watching from the side and hearing about all these crazy numbers that are being thrown out, and guys are making like damn near big league salaries in college.
I still don't understand the Bryce Underwood Michigan one. I mean, you got guys publicly saying they're going to just give millions of dollars. It's not through an actual like NIL.
It's nuts.
It's like we're just going to pay guys money. That's not what this was supposed to be.
Yeah, and I think it's been way overblown. I mean, I love it. I love that college athletes are getting paid, but it's more like the best. It's like the best of the best, and it's football and it's basketball, and it's great, and it makes it fun to watch. And it adds a different element to it, but it's not necessarily like, oh, all college athletes are getting paid now, and it's great, and go to college and get a degree for free, and earn some money. Like, it has to be certain scenarios. And so it makes it a lot harder to kind of go ahead and navigate that. And I mean, more than anything, it makes it harder for a lot of the smaller schools to keep up too. I mean, the mid majors, like, man, you have a good year, you're gone. That's it. So makes it harder for those guys recruiting, et cetera. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I love it. I love the fact that college athletes can get paid. I think it's the coolest thing. I think it makes for a whole new side of it. But again, just like, I haven't really wrapped my head around exactly whether, it's good or bad or kind of where it is in the middle.
For sure. Now I saw Griff yawn, so I'm gonna give Griff the tough question first. I want to get him I want to get that energy going. I know the rivalry is always going to be the Bronx versus Boston, but on this show, fuck Boston. We're not even talking about it. We're not even worried about it right now. But on the other side of town, I want to ask this one for both you guys. We'll start with Griff. Do you think the rivalry is actually starting to heat up, and can you kind of feel that between the New York Mets and the New York Yankees? Obviously, the Mets have been playing little brother for years, but now with Soto going over there with the money he just made, not only just from that standpoint, but from a winning standpoint, both of those teams going at it back and forth. You got one that went to NLCS, one that went to the World Series. Do you guys think that rivalry is going to start heating up just around the same time you guys get the call up?
To be completely honest with you, I mean, I've only been in the org for a couple months. I think Rez is probably the guy that you really are going to want to ask about this, because I know that High A Hudson Valley plays the Mets teams in the Bronx, right? You guys, is that accurate, or is that
No. Someone said something about that like recently. I don't know why someone had said that, but we don't do that. But we play like High A plays the Mets, Double A plays the Mets, Triple A plays the Mets. Like we play the Mets at every level. So like you're right in the fact that there's plenty of rivalry there. And I do think it's adding to it. I think it's awesome. I love the whole crosstown rivalry thing, the Subway Series. I think it's really, really fun. And yeah, it's definitely added to the rivalry a little bit. I mean, you can kind of feel it in the clubhouse. Like all these guys are showing up, all the big league guys are showing up early. They're getting after it, working really hard. Like there's a lot of buzz, and it's exciting to watch, especially for us. We get to see it and get to see how these guys work, how they go about their business. And I'll tell you, our organization is definitely ready for a really good year.
Without a doubt. Now, Jim, I got one for you, bro. We got two studs in the Yankees organization right here, but you got your boy Gilly Goo over there in the Mets org. Drew Gilbert or the boys? Who you rocking with once it comes down to it? You can only wear one jersey, brother.
I ain't never wore no Drew Gilbert jersey. I got a Griffin Herring jersey right there.
Yeah, that's the answer, bro. That's the. Hey, we're gonna clip this. We're gonna tag Gilly. We have to get him on the show somehow, bro.
Look at you, Griff.
Come on, Griff.
I mean, let's do it. Let's rock.
That's
Look,
hype.
man, I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna call it. They're gonna face at some point, and one of these two boys is gonna strike them out, if not both of them. But hey, let me ask y'all a question since you brought him up. It ain't got nothing to do with LSU or the Yankees. But he talked about Soto coming to the Mets. They have the most stacked outfield, and yet he's going off in AAA. Like, how would you feel to be like, Mike called it purgatory, because he's got nowhere to go. Like, he can't go up. There's too many dudes, but he's killing it. Like, and so if they don't trade him, he's just going to stuck being a certified baller in the minor league. Like, I don't know, man. How would you feel, Griffin, if like you were stuck in something like that?
I think that's just part of the business, honestly. That's at the end of the day, that's kind of how I choose to see it is, the owners are doing what they need to do for the team, and that's what they think is best. And if they want to trade me and I'll get my opportunity,
would you consider talking to him and saying, "Hey, can you deal me so I can go play"?
I don't think you can just ask to get moved up, but
why not, man? You got to shoot your shot.
I think I'll just show it on the field. I think that's about all.
Yeah, you gonna shoot your shot to the DFA list real quick. You go asking questions like that.
Good answer, Griffin. Good answer, Griffin.
Very good answer. I like it. But fellas, man, like really getting into that and having those conversations. Griff, I know you're relatively new to the org, but has there been anybody for you so far that you've just been able to be a sponge to really just pick the brain of on how things are going to go? I know Eric was just testing some knowledge about how many times y'all are going to play the Mets, but who has been that person for you thus far in person or via text? And then who are you most excited to learn from, whether that's from high A all the way to the bigs?
I mean, he's sitting right here in this podcast with us. Rez has been really, really great since day one, honestly. Whenever I first got to the complex, said, hey, you were rehabbing your ankle at the time. And, just offered advice, anything I needed. And he's going to be doing really big things this year. And I'm sure I'm going to keep texting him and asking him things. There's plenty of other guys at the complex. I mean, everybody's really friendly. I've been just trying to ask, our pitching coaches, any of them that I can find, whether that's, anywhere from the top guy to, anybody I'm looking to find, to ask information, figure out more about the organization, figure out things in the training room. Like, I don't know, just where to hang up things, like what to do. It's a ton, and you just gotta got to really just be a sponge, like you said.
For sure, for sure. I think, and I've watched your game a lot. I think somebody you'd have a lot of fun with is Mark Leiter Jr. I saw him in person at Wrigley Field when he was a Cub, man. I mean, he's one of them ones, man. And watching him go about his day-to-day business is pretty crazy. Eric, how about for you though, man? Like, who's that guy for you?
Yeah, there's been a lot. There's been a lot. I mean, it's pretty cool that we're in a situation where in the off season we get to work out with all these guys that are in the big leagues, have been in the big leagues, have made really really good careers for themselves. The last couple of years for me, I've learned a lot from Tommy Canley, Lou Trevino. Talked to these guys, Scott Efros, picked their brains a lot. That's one of your guys over there. um, and they're awesome. I mean, they're super receptive. They love talking to us. They love making sure that we know what's going on. I had a really really cool conversation last year when I was rehabbing. Before I got ready to be able to go out for season. Had a really really good conversation with Garrett Cole. I mean, the guy is as dominant of a pitcher as you'll find in the game, and he doesn't need to do it, but he'll take 45 minutes out of his day and make everyone else late to talk to two minor league guys that he should have no reason to talk to in the first place. And there was one day he basically closed the door to the training room, and me and Chase Hampton, who's another one of our prospects, were kind of sitting there, and he was telling us exactly how he got through the minor leagues, what he focused on, how much emphasis he put on his fastball. The fact that he would be forced to throw his fastball like 70-80% of the time to make sure that was one thing that always stuck. And so he'd only be allowed to throw a few certain breaking balls a game in the minors, and that's how that guy got to the big leagues: fastball command. And it's it's that easy, and it's shown in how dominant and how amazing of a pitcher he's been over the last few years. So it's things like that, it's experiences like that that every guy has, whether it's with those guys, whether it's with guys that dominate in AA, AAA. It's an awesome world that we live in. It's really really cool. We're lucky to be in the situation in the first place. And I'll tell you firsthand, I mean, Griffin's been here for half a year. He's been working his tail off. The dude threw live today, looked fantastic. He is being a sponge, soaking up everything the coaches are telling him. He's going to have a great future in the game, and definitely excited to watch him and Thatcher as well, get it going.
Appreciate that.
Now, Griff, I have to ask you, like, not a low bro question, but like as a rook coming into the building, when you see a Garrett Cole standing across from you, do you just casually would you just casually stand next to him and say nothing? Just like, yeah, man, I belong right here. Or would you kind of just be like, what's up? Like, hey, you know what I mean? Like Harry Potter when he first got to Hogwarts, kind of acting like, yeah, man, I'm just here,
For me personally, I'm probably not gonna go up and say hey to somebody unless they're looking at me like they want to talk to me.
Exactly.
But I mean, in the facility every day right now, you're rolling out next to Carlos Rodon, or there's a bunch of big league guys in there. You see Judge coming in and out. It's actually a really really cool environment, and I think I don't know if a lot of big league teams do that. I know I've talked to some guys, and they haven't seen really any big leaguers. So I think that's really shows a lot about the org, just like having all of their pretty much. I think they have like 6 or 7 of us draft guys there right now, but having us there and having all those big league guys there kind of sets the standard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't feel like you're lesser or anything. It's just kind of you're just following the guideline that they're putting out for you.
You're just like, damn, that motherfucker really is like 6'7". Like that's crazy.
Real.
Look, and we're gonna be biased.
Who he's with?
What was that?
I said he ain't no bigger than Paul Skeens, who Griffin was with. He's every bit of 6'6". Every picture I got with Paul, he dwarfs me.
And look, we're gonna be biased, but at the end of the day, and I've been here, going into my 3rd year with the org. There's no better organization. There, you hear about the level of professionalism the Yankees have, the history. They're the biggest brand in baseball, and some can say in sports, and we see it every day. I mean, it's like from management, the staff, the players, there's a standard that everyone follows. And I think that's a big reason that they do, mix the major league and minor league side. They want us to learn from those guys, and they don't sign guys that aren't going to be receptive to teaching those things to us. So it's run like a well-oiled machine. And again, me and Griffin are extremely lucky to be with the org. I'm telling you, it's the best of the best.
I do have one more before I hand it back over to Jim. This is probably the most unprofessional question I've ever asked a professional baseball player. No, but I just got to know, as a bearded man who gets yelled at by Jim all the time when I
you can
shave.
ask that question. I'm curious.
Yeah, well, is it an unspoken thing about not having facial hair, or hey, Griff, when you signed that contract, did it say in there you cannot have anything more than a mustache?
I've never been told to shave, but I mean, I do pretty much once every 3 days. Like, it's understood for me. I'm sure it's in there somewhere.
It is. It's a
like
rule. It is
he
a
just
rule.
got busted. He didn't read his contract all the way through.
Didn't read his contract. He saw that bonus. He said, "Fuck it." No, but Eric, have you ever been told that before, or is that just something everybody?
So it's when season starts. So when season starts, we are clean shaven. This is about the most that I've ever, most that I've had. And it's because we're preseason. Got a little bit here. Got a little bit. I got shave tomorrow morning. But regardless, I even in the off season mostly, I never let anything grow out. It's like it is written, but it's also you'll be told by players and coaches, staff. Like if you come in with facial hair during the season, you'll be told to go shave. We have razors every home and away series. Like they're there for us. So. They're kind of subtly giving us a reminder, like, hey, don't you get on that field with it unless you're clean shaven. So,
and with that being said,
that was a question I had for Eric really quick. It's like an org question, I guess. Can I grow a beard in the off season or no?
Yeah, you can.
Because I saw Jason Dominguez with one hitting that avocado.
Yeah.
No, you can grow it in the off season.
I saw that, and I saw another one. It was a few years back. I forget which player it was, but he was basically testing free agency, and he was making it known like, hey, man, anybody can come scoop me up. I'm a free agent. Grew his beard out like Rocky right before he went after that fight in Russia. Like I was like, man, I do wonder, though, if in the back of their minds, like that pisses them off that they have it in the, you know what I mean? Like maybe they're like, maybe you guys just don't do that at all. But I think it's sick. I like to see you guys with it in the off seasons, and then right after opening day, man, it might be 5 degrees in Chicago, but you guys come into town clean shaven, not a hair, nothing.
Professional.
Yep.
Professional.
Hey, man, Mike, I tell you what, I was trying to think. I'm going mind blank. You're gonna have to help me to help the story. Who was the Cardinal center fielder who had the long blonde hair that came from Florida? Curly long blonde hair.
Oh man.
And he went to the Yankees. And
Harrison Bader.
Yeah, Bader.
Yeah,
Bro,
Bader.
I didn't even recognize who he was because his hair was like part of his whole look. And I was like, man, that's crazy. The Yankees really do hold a standard. I was like, that man got chopped the next day. So
yep.
No, for sure. Or even like
go back to everything you learned.
Too.
Devin Williams is gonna have to shave.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Oh yeah.
But going back to everything you learned, Eric, man, clearly, Griffin's talking to the right guy. Clearly, you were learning from the right guys because this past season, 1.16 ERA, only allowing a 136 batting average, 0.96 whip, 63 Ks, man. Clearly, things are working. Like you were talking about your pitch, not just, the heaters anymore. Talk about what was working and why you were able to have so much success this season.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, when I got into the org, things kind of unraveled real quickly. I ran into some injuries, and it's just part of the game, but unfortunately it just kind of kept piling on. It started out with some back stuff, and so I was working through that. It was just joint pain, but it was impacting my delivery, so I couldn't pitch. And once I had gotten that figured out, it took just about to the end of 2023. So I missed that whole first season. I go home to California, see family, kind of reset a little bit. It was down. I mean, not in the right headspace mentally. I mean, it was tough. A game gets taken away from you that way, and it's hard to remember sometimes why you're there, what you're doing, why you're doing it, why you're working so hard in rehab when things aren't going the way that you want them to. So then I go home and I'm in California, and right as, I'm about to get ready to start going up, getting ready for the season, I find a cyst on my lower back, and I didn't think it was too big of a deal. Go get it checked out, need surgery on it because it was real infected underneath. So got surgery on that. It was major surgery. And I was able to kind of get the clear to start moving around after about a month and a half. So I went down to San Diego, started training again. The surgical site, the scar itself, got infected again. So woke up with a 101 fever, in just crazy pain. Had to fly back that next morning, another surgery. Waited another month and a half. That one didn't work. Went back in for a third revision. Finally got it all cleared out, all good. So came back to the complex. I think it was about late February before spring training, And this is, 2-3 months without picking up a ball, picking up a weight, running, nothing. I had a tube coming out of my back for like, a month and a half that was stitched in. So I wasn't, able to do a thing. And it was this weird, mindset where it's like I was just happy that the second I got back to Tampa and was with my PT, the first day, all I was allowed to do was get on treadmill. And I was psyched. I mean, like, if the game gets taken away from you for that long, it's the little things. I was just pumped to be able to do the little things. And then 2-3 weeks later, started playing catch. And after playing catch, first mound day. And I was lucky. I had a lot of good guys around me. We had a great rehab group. Did plenty outside of the field and got my head totally clear. Started working on what I wanted to work on. All the negative things kind of went out of the head, and things just happen really fast. I mean, it's like when you put your head down and you're thankful for playing the game that you play, and you go out there instead of trying to prove something or instead of trying to go out there and do too much, it just comes easy. So was able to really, really get the slider, the best it's ever been, spinning it high, a lot of confidence in it, change up same way. And the fastball has always been there. I've never had to worry about that. So all those things started coming together. I was pounding the zone, and, when the way I'll say it is, you throw strikes, you get guys out, you pile up strikeouts, they'll move you up in level. It really doesn't matter who you are, what round you were taken in, what your history is. You throw the ball well, and they're going to bring you up. So,
No, for sure.
it happened fast, but I couldn't be happier for all the things that led to it. So right now I'm as confident as I've ever been. The stuff's feeling good. I'm healthy as can be and ready to go.
And how do
Yeah, I love
you
hearing
kind of do that
perspective.
in a sense of where it's like, like you kind of just got to keep the main thing, like Jim and I talk about that all the time. If we don't do a show for a week, like we're itching, bro. Like we this next show has to be the best show. Like that's how we are, because we just have that like competitive edge. For you, man, understanding that guys have been able to have more time than you, just being able to run or pick up a weight, they have that one up. So when you finally get back, how do you just maintain keeping it at your pace? So like I said, you can kind of just keep the main thing without doing too much.
That's always been my biggest struggle, is I've never had an off button, and for me it was learning that I do need to develop that. And so again, it may sound corny, but I was just grateful. I mean, I'm sitting there happy that I can do every little thing when they let me do it. Like first day I played catch, it was like freaking kid in a candy store. I was fired up, but I had to keep it under a certain velo and not go overboard. First mound day, same thing. And so it's like, when you do trust the professionals that have been doing this for a long, long time, in what they tell you to do, how they tell you to do it, and when they tell you to do it, things seem to work out. If
Sure.
you just kind of got to trust the work that you're putting in, instead of trying to go and find some magic cure, some magic, oh, well, there we go. There's 90. There's my first 90 back. It's like the things will come. And so my velo, it was, like everything else, slowly, came on and came on and came on. And, from where I was in my lives, when I started going in May, to where I was at the end of the season in AA, total difference. And so it's just, you kind of go back and look at the big picture, and it's like, from here on out, it's easy for me to tell a lot of the guys that are going through it that you really do want to trust them. I'm not just trying to be corny and do the whole do as I say, not as I do. You really got to trust the people that are put in the position to help you, rather than try to go do everything yourself and overdo it. And it's just how you get back on the injured list, So I'm telling myself, like, the biggest thing, you just got to stay off that injured list. You got to do what you got to do. You got to take care of what you got to take care of your body, your diet, your sleep, no messing around, do your work, and the pitching will come. You were drafted for a reason. They obviously saw something in you. So you make sure you stay healthy, and things will work out for you.
Not just you were drafted for a reason, but they say things happen for a reason anyway.
Griff,
what?
take notes, brother. Take notes, Griff.
Oh,
My
yeah,
dad's been telling me the best.
We've talked about it.
We've
talked
since
about
I
it.
was 12.
Now,
I
well,
promise.
they say
Oh,
everything
man.
happens for a reason. I feel like this happened for a reason, Eric, because your perspective right now, because Mike's in there talking about taking this, like, dude, yeah, you're seeing everything clearly. The way you're just firing that off, man, you got a whole different perspective. And so even though I'm sure you wish you would have never went through all that stuff, I feel like, man, it's probably made you not just a better player, but a better person in the way you see things. So I don't know, man. I think it worked out. I'll ask you this, Griffin, because you've been sitting there playing with your camera for about 10 minutes. It's funny. We got to ask him more questions, Mike, because he gets like fidgety and stuff. No, talking about the 5th round, 6th round, stuff like that, the boys, the last 2 days, we're talking about when you do go against guys who are those first rounders, you do kind of have that chip on your shoulder because they were drafted ahead of you. So Like, is that something that you think you'll do? Like, you'll look and there'll be whoever this person is, it's a big name, and it'll give you that ammunition that like you want to show them up.
I think it's a lot more just personal drive, like the desire to do well, the desire to put the training and the hard work that I have put into use, and to try to move up and try to help my team, and do what I can. It's not so much personal rivalries. I've never had another player that I'm like, I really don't like this guy.
He just tells everybody to
I
sit
need to
down.
punch him out. Like, I don't discriminate. It's just a game,
Yeah.
It's
We
fun.
different
You get
people,
fired up
brother. We different
sometimes.
people because I got 3 people on my block that if I see take my parking spot, I'm like, man, fuck that guy. I'm gonna double park tomorrow morning. Like, fuck this.
Hey, let me ask you this. We're talking about pitch selection and adding things to the arsenal, but man, I've seen you when the slider is working. Whether it's your decision or the pitching coach when you're LSU, well, you'll just go to slider after slider after slider. Can you see yourself, being able to do that at the big league? And maybe Eric can weigh in, or is that something that's really not an option when you get to this level of hitters?
I think it's not as much is it an option. It's like will I really need to? I added a changeup, or I say added, but just tweaked the grip on my changeup. I had a changeup both years at LSU. I just didn't throw it very much in my role, but I will be a starter come this spring training. So I've been really putting in a lot of work on the changeup and just having a 3-pitch mix. I think the biggest thing is being able to command those pitches really well. I was workshopping a curveball, which I still am. But after my first live, I kind of realized that you need to have 3 pitches that you can put in the zone or pretty much wherever you want at any point if you want to have success as a starter, if you want to face a lineup 3 times. And just kind of adding pitches here and there isn't always the best kind of plan of attack. So I've just been really focusing on my fastball command and slider command, and having that changeup is going to help a lot. So I think it'll take away the need to throw slider after slider. There's times where it'll call for it.
And I only asked because there was times where it was just, you knew it, man. You knew you were locked in. You knew nobody could hit it. And like I said, it's a different level of hitters, but why fix what ain't broke?
Slider's not going anywhere, but it's going to be hopefully more of a, more of a weapon pitch, not so much like my best pitch, if that makes sense.
No, for sure. And like yesterday we had Aiden and Jacob on, and they kind of talked about the difference between college and making it to the pros. And it's kind of that conversation of in college, and this was Jacob felt, he said there wasn't a lot of analytics. He said it was basically just go throw strikes and get guys out. And that's really what it is. So far for you, Griff, have you seen that difference, especially coming from, a prestigious organization? You're kind of working with some of the best from a coaching perspective. Have you noticed anything so far about the way they want you to operate and outside of just throw strikes?
There's an aspect to it, beforehand where you're doing your drills. Everybody has their own separate drills, whether that's something with a water bag, something mechanical with your plyos that you're focusing on, like a little mental note, core velocity belt. That kind of stuff is where the real development happens. I haven't been given any goals or anything for a live at bats or an outing or anything, which I'm sure Eric can expand on more, but so far it's just been me personally setting my goals, and generally for me that's just fill up the zone and compete.
For sure.
Now, last question I got for Eric, and then you can ask anything you want to these guys, Mike. Coming from LSU where 13, 14, 15,000 people in front of you, to obviously A-ball where that's not the case at all. Is it easier? Is it harder? Because we've gotten the different perspective from some. Some say it's easier when nobody's there. Some say it's harder because they fuel off that, that crowd, that energy. So for you, coming from LSU and those monster crowds, what's it like when you're doing high A ball?
Yeah, high was a little different. It was smaller crowds. It was smaller crowds, but the games were just as fun. Like baseball is baseball, and so for me, I've always been one of those guys that when I get on a mound, I black out for lack of a better term. For me, it's literally I can't hear a thing, I can't see a thing. For me, it's I count to 3. It's 3 strikes or 4 balls. So that's the only thing that I'm doing. It's the only thing I'm thinking about. And the one thing I may add is Double A. When I got up to Double A, that was that was a big shock because those were bigger crowds than I anticipated. I mean, we at Somerset, we had, man, 8,000-9,000 people. We'd go to,
We
other.
talked about that last night. I couldn't believe it because I got to go watch some boys pitch in Rocket City, and obviously that they're doing everything right there with the promos and everything. But there was 8,800 people there, and I was like, I didn't know this many people came because in Memphis where the Redbirds are, I tell Mike, I sent him a picture one day. There was like 50 folks there. So when I walk in and see this, I'm like, they got it going on. So I didn't know. I guess AA is the spot, Mike. That's what I'm starting to hear.
Yeah.
AA and some AAA stadiums. I heard the White Sox AAA stadiums are ridiculous. I mean that place. Yeah, I've heard crazy things about that place. But we played in plenty of real cool spots this year. I mean, we played in Hartford. Duncan Park was absolutely nuts. The Rockies AA. I mean, that place was insane. They packed the house. I mean, fans were nuts. The games were crazy competitive.
Yeah.
And then, man, the playoffs were fun too. I mean, it was real fun.
I got to go there. Since you brought Chase Dowager sent me this autograph.
The Yard Goats.
I love the Yard Goat, man.
Yeah, I watched him pitch. He shoved. He's good, man. He's gonna be a good big leaguer.
Yeah, we had him and Condon on together. So y'all are definitely going to have some comp and them boys. But I tell you what, Eric, man, and that's the beauty of what me and Mike have been doing. Just talking to all the guys that have came up through college. We're talking. I feel good about the state of baseball, man. The amount of talent coming up through the minors right now. Baseball ain't going nowhere. From you guys to the other guys we talk to, and even the ones that don't. Like, people better buckle their seatbelt. It's going to be a ride.
And not to take it from y'all, but like, dude, like even forget the minors, bro. These international guys coming in, like coming out of nowhere. It's like the Roki Sasakis of the world, the Luis Robert Juniors, like completely taking over once they get here, which I think is really dope. But I did have one. Eric, do you have to say something?
No.
Okay, I just want to make sure. I didn't want to cut you on that. But so I got one last one for you guys. Then we'll let Jim. Well, you saw the sun going down throughout the entire episode. It's pretty sick. I thought it was clean. I like it.
We got Griffin. His goes completely dark every once in a while, and then Eric slowly went to the dark.
Nah, man, Eric's just vibing, bro. He's with the tide, brother. He's with the tide, But so this is my last one. It's more of a goofy one, a little hypothetical for both of you guys. You got 4 MVPs in this Yankee lineup. And I'm one of them. You're welcome, by the way, for Cody Bellinger. I don't know who Cody Petit is, but we traded one Cody for another. I wish him nothing but the best. I hope he changes my mind.
Poteet is a dog, by the way. I got to play with him this year. He's an absolute dog.
There you go.
Can you kind of, Eric? Can you kind of expand on that for me? You played with Cody.
Yeah, he was with us in AA for a little bit when he was rehabbing. Actually, for a couple weeks, he was ridiculous. I mean, that guy's the most effortless 95, 96 with plenty of ride at the top of the zone, sliders, nuts. I mean, he's all over the zone. He's gonna fill it up. He's not gonna put anyone on base. And he's got a really good mentality too. So I got to learn a lot from him this year too. He's a vet for sure. He knows what he's doing.
I'm excited about it. But with that, man, 4 MVPs. We got Judge, Goldschmidt, Jim's Goldschmidt. We got Stanton, and of course Bellinger. For you guys as pitchers, if you're facing the top of that order and they're all in their MVP years, who are you pitching around and why?
Griffin, I want you to answer this one first.
Indeed. We got to get, man, you should have told them they had homework. They weren't just ready for that.
Hey, you got to be ready for it, brother.
Yeah. For whatever reason,
you don't know.
I think Goldschmidt would get me. So I'm gonna pitch around him. He's a big righty. Okay. I know Judge is too, but he gets calls up and down from umps that are, kind of BS. So I'll take my calls in the bottom of the zone, hopefully. Just try to set a tunnel down there with the slider, but I think Goldschmidt would get me, so I'm gonna have to do that.
What about you?
I've never been a guy that's ever thought pitch around. I think for me to pitch around, like a pitching coach he'd have to tell me to intentionally walk a guy. But for the sake of the conversation, I think the way that I pitch to Judge, and hopefully I get to do this soon in lives. I'm excited. I would pitch at the top of the zone. So like I'm throwing, I may not come into the zone. I may not give him something that he really wants to hit. I may try to beat him at the top of the zone and make him swing and miss. And if he gets me, he gets me. But I definitely am not leaving anything middle to that guy. None of those guys. I mean, you got to make sure that you know exactly where you're throwing those pitches. You make a mistake.
Guys are scared, Mike. Both of them will attack you. That's no doubt.
Sure.
Yeah. Look, you got to think about it. Those guys that you named, you could get to 0-2. You could get to 0-2, and you could be as confident as you could possibly be. You make the tiniest of mistakes, and you're going to be on a highlight reel for the rest of your life. So you got to be careful.
I mean, Mike, I know you're not the biggest college ball guy, but these two, that's the beauty of that's why you go to LSU. They're pitching against the best of the best at the college game. So when they transition over, they've already, I get it. They're going to bigger names, but they've already got a mentality where they're not scared of anybody. They've pitched in the hardest environments in front of 15, 16,000 at their level. So I think, that's absolutely the reason why you choose LSU is to prepare yourself, especially not just to have fun at the college level, win a national championship, but for the next level.
For sure,
I think it gets you prepared to a point where you don't think about names. Like, names isn't a thing.
100%. 100%. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Competing against each other. Like,
yeah.
There's nameless, faceless, just opponents. That's all.
Yeah. I was throwing live yesterday, and I actually did not realize who I was facing. There was a lefty that came in, and I thought I was facing someone completely different. And then 2-2 count, I look up, and it's Ben Rice, who's was our first baseman for a good amount of the year last year. So it's like, if you don't see it that way, if you let the guy that's in the box impact the way that the pitch comes out of your hand, you lose before you even throw it. So can't let that happen.
Think about this, Mike. While I'm just thinking about recency with Griffin. We just had Brock Wilken not too long ago. This dude, Brock and Nick Kurtz, did nothing but smash bombs, that year. And in Omaha on the biggest stage, Griff and the rest of the LSU Tigers absolutely own them. Them dudes couldn't get a hit to save their life. Those names didn't matter on that stage. And I think that's just that mentality they're talking about. You get there.
Yeah.
Griff, what did you do against Brock? I played with Brock in the Cape. I know Brock real well. What did you do against Brock?
Pop up to first base, foul territory, and walk. Kind of soft, but
if you threw it in the zone, you would have got him. You would have got him.
In their first couple games, they were doing what they're doing. They're hitting nukes. And then the next two games they played against LSU, they were nowhere to be found. Like
that's what it is.
The whole bullpen, you saw it, because everybody was it's just going to be Skeens, right? No, man, everybody locked in.
Yeah,
Nasty Nate's still living in their nightmares.
That team was ridiculous, man. I knew I was going to sign, but man, just the thought of what if? That team was unbelievable. We had so much fun. Me and my buddies, we'd sit down, we'd watch every game in the postseason.
Look, I love it because I can cross into somebody who just commented on my post. Scott Burke said something about you, Reyzelman. Anyway, I was in Omaha with him last year, obviously watching Blake and everything. But there were some people who were on Twitter talking about this 2024 Tennessee team would roll through 2023's pitching staff. And I was like, man, y'all can't be serious. And finally, Scott Burke, who's with Tennessee, chimed in and said, no, like that 2023 pitching staff is gross. Like, I think people get caught in the moment. And it's like, you did just see what Skeens did, right? And it's like, Ty Floyd and everybody's like, man, stop.
Yeah.
We weren't perfect. We had our moments, We had our moments.
I think the Mississippi State series needed to happen, even though, I thought the parents were going to have a brawl up there, losing their mind, going to 9-run lead. But every single team, since I've been covering baseball, took a punch in the mouth down the stretch that was needed to let them know that they weren't perfect, they needed to improve, and then they all went to win it. Like, I've never seen anybody just go unscathed down the stretch. So I don't know, man. I think you got to have those lumps. You grow
for sure. And that's even listen, fellas, Jim got me into college baseball. Jim and Randy, they were the ones that told me, man, Tennessee's the team you got to rock with. My first year, I'm at the highest of the highs, man. We're rocking with it just for Notre Dame and the Irish. I'm an Irish man myself. To just break my heart the way they did, I was like, yeah, man, I got that itch. So to see these fan bases going at it year in and year out, man, it's just been a blast. But Jim, before we get these guys out of here, man, you wanted to rip some cards. I heard that's the rumor going around.
No, I was going to talk about. I stopped ripping. I just buy them outright. But I know I've seen Griffin doing it, and I'm just curious. First, if Eric does it all together, but is it something that you just did, kind of just messing with it, or is Griffin something you actually like to do?
My dad likes the cards. He likes to have them, and one of his best friends, he had a couple card shops that he wanted to show around. So I went with my dad and him, and they ended up having some of those draft packs, and I actually pulled myself out of it, which was pretty cool. So I pulled Ben Hess. Got to get that signed by him. Probably gonna, refrain from asking.
If you pull your teammates, that'll be cool.
Teammates for sure. Yeah.
Do you Do you sign your own card? That's what I always wondered. Make
If
it a
I'm
little bit
giving
more
it to
valuable.
somebody, I'm not
All
gonna.
right. I just
I'm not
always
gonna sign
wondered.
it for myself.
Here's what's cool that I learned. So because I'm not gonna resell my card, so Griffin's signing mine because his autos aren't out. But those, Mike, you can get them signed. If you go to get those verified, they're gonna hold no weight. You got to have the exclusively signed one. So if somebody's trying to get their signed because they want to go sell something that he was nice enough to sign, it ain't fixing to work. So I like that.
That is actually nice. I didn't know that.
Griff put me on game before the show too about the whole don't try not to sign on paper too. I didn't even know. Like, I know you have the last 2 episodes. If you guys are tuning in, Jim talked about how he bought the fake Chase Dolander card, and Griff said, "Man, you don't want to sign on paper because people could start like tracing your signature, all types of stuff. Like my signature is like it's just my name."
He's asked some of these guys, you know, and Dolander was one of them. You know, if they practice it was Brock Wilkins was the other one. If they practice their signatures and stuff, and anyway, you can tell the guys who had theirs down and who never really practiced it because some are so pretty and some is straight chicken scratch.
100%.
At LSU, I know Rez knows you got to get that thing going because when you go down that line, you got to move. You got to move quick. Those people are ready to get out of there. You're ready to get out of there.
Dude, my favorite autograph. I'm gonna put him on blast, Griffin, right here because he ain't gonna hear this. So Gavin Guidry comes over there and signs Jackson's ball and hat and everything else with her. And this crowd of kids comes over there and he's like, "Hey man, I'm not doing autographs tonight." And runs off. I was like, "Gavin, you're a dick." I was like, and Jackson's like,
there's circumstances at times, but
for sure. Like that's even like Simo.
I think it's good karma to sign balls. Last year I signed every single game.
I've never not seen.
I want to pitch well. I need to. So.
You're not the only one. Tommy always signed. Tommy was always signing.
But like you know, we get to this point too where there's guys like Simo, there's guys like Skeens who, man, you know, like deep down that half of those kids are just getting it signed so their parents can sell it. You know, and that's not the kids' faults whatsoever. But I think that's where there's that line of like, you know, you kind of got to separate every day from like, okay, well, maybe once a week, maybe twice a week. That's how I feel.
Simo's funny. This last story, and he's because if he has a good game, he'll sign. If he doesn't, you're not going to see him. It's plain, it's cut and dry with him. He's an emotional cat.
I mean, some guys, you know, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I would rather my kid not go bother somebody while they're mad. Like I'm with that.
It's a good
Mike,
point.
man, you can close this thing if you don't got anything else. I know they got stuff to do.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's nighttime now for Eric, so like we ain't even trying to hold him that much longer. But listen, man, we appreciate you guys being here. Eric, it was lovely to finally meet you. Our second episode, but first time meeting. Griff, man, it is a pleasure, man, to meet you as well. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, we had 3 shows this week, so you can watch back to back if you feel like it, because it'll be the only back to back this week. Because I know them Chiefs ain't going next week. That's what I'll tell you right now. Saquon will save the world. But with that being said, man, I'm playing. Please don't come for me in the comments. I have no allegiance to either team. Do not care. Go Bears. But with that being said, man, we appreciate you guys for tuning in. This is our final show for the week. We will be up next sometime next week, I would imagine.
Connor Griffin already locked it in.
Connor Griffin next week. Come on, stop playing with me. We got amazing shows, amazing content with amazing individuals. Until next time, this has been Pros and Joes. I am Mike Hughes. This is Jim Cross. Peace.
Give them a shot to do what?